Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Turkey-Namibia Business and Investment webinar. First of all, I would like to thank you for joining us at this webinar. My name is Evran Dogan, and I am the director of the Turkey-Africa Business Councils here at our organization, the Foreign Economic Relations Board, which is briefly named in Turkish as DEİK. Turkey-Namibia Business Council, since its establishment in 2017, plans to carry out various activities, including mutual delegation visits and business forums, as well as webinars, to increase bilateral relations between the two countries, in collaboration with our counterpart, Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board. Before we get started, I would like to remind our audience that language interpretation, Turkish English, is available at the translation button of this platform. And also participants will have the opportunity to submit text questions by typing your question into the control panel. We will collect this question and address them. Apart from that, I would also like to remind Turkish and Namibian interested to do, these companies interested to do business with each other and contact with each other after this webinar. We will receive, they will receive a complete attendance list and contact details at their emails. Now, for the opening remarks, allow me to invite Her Excellency, Ambassador of the Republic of Turkey to Windhoek, Her Excellency Çekerek, Oruçkaptan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doğan. Mrs.
Teşekkür ederim.
Mrs. Ambassador Sabine Böhlke-Möller, Director.
Sayın Büyükelçi ve ikili İlişkiler kuruluşunun başkanı ve değerli Türk ve Namibyalı katılımcılar. Hepinizi selamlıyorum saygıyla, sevgiyle. Ben açılış konuşması yapmak üzere karşınızdayım.
This is the first meeting of the Business Council that I'm taking part in, and I hope that this meeting will pave the way for further meetings and B2B contacts and business initiatives. Before coming to Namibia, we had very fruitful several meetings with Mr. Muhammed, Yusuf, Bedir, and we discussed how we can contribute to the development of economic and commercial relations, as well as explore reciprocal investment opportunities. Last February, just after the two unfortunate, devastating earthquakes in Turkey, I paid the courtesy call to Mrs. Uaandja. We also discussed how we can transform the potential in terms of economic relations into tangible initiatives. I want to thank both of them for sharing their ideas with me and guiding me. President, His Excellency Honorable Hage Geingob, has recently stated that Namibia remains open for business to those who see the country as an attractive investment destination. This is a call for foreign investors to explore the economic potentials in Namibia. Under the leadership of President His Excellency Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, Turkey remains a real friend and a reliable partner of the African countries as well as Namibia. Our president ranks first in terms of the number of the visits to Africa. Our embassy in Windhoek was opened in 2012. It is one of the first embassies that we opened in Africa continent. Now we have 44 embassies on the continent. In 2014, TICA, our development agency, started its operation in Namibia and so far achieved more than 100 projects in Namibia, in Windhoek and in the northern regions of Namibia, especially in education, health services, agricultural areas. Our presence, together with TICA in Windhoek, is the significance of our Africa approach, as stated by our President, His Excellency Mr. Tayyip Erdoğan. Since last September, our embassy was visited by numerous Turkish business persons and investors. They are from very different sectors, namely electric generation, agriculture, solar energy, textiles, catering, hospitality, and medical services. During our meetings with them, as well as during our several meetings with Business Council's Turkish side, I observed an intense interest towards Namibia. At the same time, I observed that there is a lack of information about the economic and investment environment in Namibia. The Turkish business persons are keeping to ask me the same questions. How is the investment and business environment in Namibia for foreign investors? Which sector is suitable for doing business? How can we find Namibian partners? Is it necessary to establish a local firm in order to submit some bids for the tenders in Namibia? If so, how can we do this? What is the tax policy in Namibia? What is the VAT rate? What is the amount of the corporate tax? And the last one, due to the South Africa Customs Union, is there any chance for a Turkish business person to compete with the SACU products in the market? Of course, I searched the answers for these questions by applying to the relevant ministries and agencies. During our meeting in NIPDB last February, the distinguished Madam CEO Uaandja explained that NIPDB is formed as to be the first address for foreign business persons. I hope that today's meeting would give all answers to these questions. I would like to give you some brief information about our economy and also our bilateral economic relations. Turkey's economy is the 19th largest in the world by nominal GDP. Our GDP in 2012 is reached $906 billion. The economic growth for 2022 is registered as 5.6%. With a population of 86 million, the national income per capita is $10,600. Construction, defense industry, automotive, pharmaceuticals, iron and steel, textiles, food and agricultural products, tourism and hospitality, and medical services are the strong sectors in our economy. These are also the investment areas in other countries for our strong Turkish private companies. If we look at the African continent from the economic aspect, we see a striking increase in our economic relations during the last 2 decades. Our trade volume increased sevenfold and reached $34.5 billion last year. Regarding Namibia and Turkey economic relations, the Trade and Economic Cooperation Agreement was signed in 2014 and entered into force in 2018. This agreement formed the Joint Economic Council at the governmental level. The first meeting took place in 2019 in Windhoek. And in 2018, a business delegation from DEİK visited Namibia and held constructive meetings and followed by other webinars and contacts later. The trade volume between our countries is around 4 or 5 million per year, US dollars. This figure is almost in favor of Namibia. For example, in 2022, trade volume is $5 million. Turkey's export is only $43,000. During the first 4 months of this year, the trade volume has reached $2.4 million. Turkey's export is only $220,000. I think personally, these are not real figures because I saw several Turkish products in the markets here. I understood that it came from South Africa through some, chain supermarkets like Checkers. I observed that Namibia is now focusing on newly explored oil reserves and trying to attract foreign investments, especially from the EU in green energy sector. But these are the main areas and they need some side sectors. in the coastal side of the oil areas, for example, or in the vicinity of the green hydrogen fields, housing, educational and health services for the employers and also for the family members, catering services to the workplaces are needed. And I think Turkey is strong in that context. As a country who has a resident embassy here in Namibia, I think there is a lot more that we can explore. And we can achieve this through very close cooperation and contacts. So these are my initial thoughts for our relations. I thank you very much for your attention and also listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We are very honored by your speech. Please allow me to invite Deputy Executive Director and Head of Bilateral and Cooperation Department in the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation of the Republic of Namibia, Her Excellency Sabine Böhlke-Möller.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies. Your Excellency, Ms. Oruçkaptan, Ambassador of Türkiye to Namibia, Ms. Nangula Uaandja, CEO of NIPDB, Ms. Muhammed Bedir of the Türkiye-Namibia Business Council, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to present Mirko at this Türkiye. I would like to take this opportunity to attest to the excellent bilateral relations Namibia and Türkiye enjoy. Already before Namibia's independence, Türkiye supported SWAPO and the Namibian people in their quest for sovereignty. In 2008, we established diplomatic relations and Türkiye opened a mission in Windhoek in 2012. We are pleased that TİKA, the Türkiye Agency for Cooperation and Coordination, set up the regional headquarters in Windhoek, and Ambassador Waal already talked about the many projects they having in Windhoek. So Namibia hopes to set up a mission in Ankara in the near future. It remains as one of our priorities. If it comes to our bilateral relations and trade and investment, there is room for improvement. So against this background, I'm very pleased that today's meeting can take place. And I thank to all of you who initiated it, especially the Ambassador of Türkiye, as well as Ms. Uaandja of the NIPDB. This is the first one with NIPDB, and it's also the first one post-COVID-19. So with these few words, I wish us all very fruitful deliberations and a successful outcome. We always here to help to support NIPDB, the embassy in Türkiye, and whoever knocks on our door. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you. And now I would like to invite Mr. Muhammed Yusuf Bedir, Chairperson of DEİK Türkiye-Namibia Business Council. Please, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Evren. Her Excellency Çekerek, Oruçkaptan, Ambassador of Republic of Turkey to Namibia. Her Excellency Sabine Böhlke-Möller, Ambassador, Deputy Executive Director, and Head of Bilateral Cooperation Department in Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation of the Republic of Namibia. Ms. Nangula Uaandja, CEO of NIPDB, distinguished panelists and dear guests. I extend my warmest welcome to all of you for your participation to Türkiye-Namibia Business and Investment Seminar. Since its establishment in 2017, DEİK Türkiye-Namibia Business Council has been continuing to contribute to economic and commercial relations between two countries, within the framework of qualified business diplomacy with our counterpart NIPDB. Lastly, under the coordination of DEİK, we held a webinar titled Potential Impact of COVID-19 on Namibian Tourism and What We Should Do Now and Beyond. Today, this seminar, which we are organizing for the first time after the pandemic, corresponds to a new period in which the dynamics of post-COVID-19 era escalated world trade to another dimension. And I believe this webinar represents a significant milestone in fostering strong economic ties between two countries. As you know, Turkey-Namibia trade volume in 2015 was at $85.5 million. The highest level reached since our bilateral trade relations were established. In the last period, it has been observed that the trade volume between two countries has been in a downward trend due to various factors. Finally, our trade volume in 2022 was realized as $18 million. As the Türkiye-Namibia Business Council, our primary goal is to conduct business diplomacy activities that will enable our trade volume to reach the peak of $85.5 million in the short term. In the mid and long term, it is our common wish to reach new peaks in our trade volume and economic relations. In this regard, we wish to organize an official delegation visit similar to that we organized in 2018 in collaboration with Turkish Airlines. And we believe that this visit will be productive and beneficial in terms of achieving the goals we have set. Before my closing remarks, it is my pleasure to invite you to the TABEF, which is Türkiye-Namibia Business and Economic Forum, and takes place in every 2 years by aiming to increase cooperation based on mutual benefits. In this year, we are organizing 4th edition, and it will be commenced on October 2023 in Istanbul Congress Center. Therefore, Namibia's value-creating companies' participation will be more meaningful for us as well. So I would like to remind you that the necessary announcement and information details about the forum will be shared via DEİK shortly as well. In conclusion, I would like to thank you, every one of you, for your participation in the Türkiye-Namibia Business and Investment webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for extending this open invitation to Türkiye Economic and Business Forum that will be organized on October by us here in DEİK. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And now, please allow me to invite our last speaker, but not the least. Please allow me to invite Ms. Uaandja, the President of Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board. Please, Madam.
Thank you very much, and please allow me just a second to share my screen. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Madam.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this webinar and to collaborate with our colleagues from the side of Turkey. So it is really a pleasure for us. And yes, we started this journey when we got into this office, and we understand that there is established relationships between the Business Council and the former Namibia Investment Center whose activities we took over. And we continued that relationship because we believe that it will work in the best interest of two organizations. So Your Excellency, Ambassador Feral Oruçkaptan, apologies for that pronunciation, and also Ambassador Sabine Böhlke-Möller, and also Mr. Muhammed Bedir. Thank you for the opportunity. Of course, I'm standing on all the other protocols that have been observed. So I know that we are under pressure of time, but please allow me to share 1 or 2 slides. They sometimes say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So yes, that is Namibia, and we are
Namibia ve bizim aslında şu an bir momentumumuz var diyebilirim. Birçok etkinlik devam ediyor şu anda Namibya'da. Bir iki örnek vereyim mesela. Namibya şu anda özellikle gençlerin kullandığı dille söyleyecek olursak Namibya şu anda trende, yükselen trende, rekabetçi fiyatları olan bir ülke burası ve net sıfır hedefleri açısından da bir takım etkinlikler düzenleniyor. Total ve Shell ülkemizde petrol faaliyetlerinde bulunuyor. Bu dünyanın bu arada ikinci büyük uranyum üreticisi olan ülkeden bahsediyoruz.
export beef to 3 large markets, which is the EU, the USA, and China, and a few other reasons. So we believe that, yes, we stand on the verge of a time that will give us ability to solve the challenges that face our people, but we need good partners, and we need to build smart partnerships with various countries. Partnerships cannot be with one person, it cannot be with 2 persons. We need partnership between the government of the Republic of Namibia and private sector, but we need partnerships, of course, between our government and other governments in order to solve the challenges that are facing us. So coming to NIPDB, so I will tell you 2 things basically in presentation. So number 1 is our priority sectors. So these are the sectors in which we are driving investment. One is renewable resources or renewable energy, and really overall energy. And we say yes because of the endowment of resources, whether it's because of the solar capabilities, the wind capability, the biomass potential, the recent oil and gas, the uranium potential, and many other reasons. And then we come to the food, yes, because we have got the capacity to enter the market at a time when everybody else is out of market. We are able to currently export dates to the Middle East when they are, especially to Dubai, who we have got an investor from. When they are out of season, Namibia can deliver dates there. We are able to go to the market in terms of grapes about a 2 or 3 weeks gap before other people are able to enter. And there are various other areas. So yes, Namibia is probably the most arid country in sub-Saharan Africa, but there are specific areas in the agricultural sectors where we have got advantages. Yes, chemical basic materials, whether sometimes are medical, cosmetics, and others, transport and logistics, and I will talk a bit on that one later. Services, we have got quite a number of young people. Some of them are graduates, some of them are school leavers that can speak English and that are also trainable in many other languages and are able to be really trained so that they can provide services. Metals, mining, and adjacent sectors. Namibia is endowed with quite a number of resources, minerals, and when it comes, for example, lithium, we are seen as one of the countries that will play a significant role due to the endowment of our natural resources that are needed for energy transition. Machinery and electronics, fintech, tourism, we can talk all day about our tourism potential, and then of course exploration, whether it is mining and so forth. So the second point is why Namibia? Yes, sometimes we hear people telling us Namibia, because of economies of scale, Namibia is 2.5 million people. Yes, because we are an arid country, we are the second least densely populated country in the world. It has got its advantages, definitely, and we enjoy it. But at the same time, we believe that we have reached various agreements that our investors are able to access the Namibian market, but also access the market beyond. We've talked about being member of SACU. I think that being member of SACU can advantage investors into Namibia, because it means that if you are a business person from Turkey and you invest in Namibia, you will be able to sell your product not only to the 2.5 million people, but without duty whatsoever. You can reach actually the South African market and others, and therefore we have got a population of about 70 million. And of course, with the recent move towards Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, you'll be able to access that market of about 1.2, 1.4 billion people. Beside the African market, we have got access to the USA through AGOA, and also other access through Mercosur to the South America. When it comes to our location, we believe that we are strategically located on the southwest coast of Africa, with 3 neighboring countries that are landlocked, with other 2 large neighboring countries. But we also have got a good developed deep sea port that is actually able to really help you, whether it is with your import, if you are importing raw materials or anything else that you need for a production, or whether it is through export when you are exporting output. And our port has been tested to be one of the efficient ones. This is probably the second last slide, and this is talking about many other reasons. Recently, our First Lady was asked at a place where we were, why would I want to invest in Namibia? And if I am to give you one reason only, I will tell you, I cannot tell you how many countries will tell you that they will probably double their GDP in the next 10 years. Where we are standing as Namibia, with the potential that we have got in oil and gas and green hydrogen, we believe that we have got a project in the pipeline and project that we are working on with value addition potential and with value chain that will be able to double our GDP, because some of the projects we are talking about are already larger than our GDP. But beside that, political stability, rule of law, protection for investors, currency that is convertible, repatriation of your investment, ownership of your investment, and of course quality of life. And I'm looking forward to welcoming the delegation that is coming, whether it is later in the year or so on, so that you can experience Namibia yourself. So that is just a few of many reasons. The rule of law are just a few of the reasons why Namibia should be your chosen destination. And yes, it was indicated by the ambassador that why we were created and in the office of the president is really to assist and support investors. We don't want investors coming in Namibia and running from pillar to post. Come to the NIPDB and we'll be able to direct you to our colleagues in the public service and in the public sector to see what you can do. And there is 3 email addresses there that you can contact. If you go to our website, if you miss this one, there is info@nipdb.com. I think we've been very responsive. My email address is here on screen. Our executive director responsible for investments, his email address is there. And we've got our support person that we would like you to always copy in or to rather direct your query on lefa.munashime@nipdb.com. And we should be able to answer your questions, address your queries, and make sure that we partner together and see how you can get your return while at the same time complementing and supplementing the effort of our government to solve the societal challenges and socio-economic challenges that are facing us, the challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam President, for the satisfying presentation about the remarkable Namibia business potential. Thank you, Madam. Now we are moving to the second session of our webinar, Investment Opportunities and Financing Presentations. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Erik Waal, Senior Manager for his presentation, Strategic Investment at Development Bank of Namibia. Please, sir.
Thank you. So first of all, to follow protocol, Her Excellency Ambassador Farrell Oruçkaptan, Her Excellency Ambassador Sabine Böhlke-Möller, Nangula Uaandja, and Mr. Muhammed, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please, all protocol observed. Today I would like to present DBN, the Development Bank of Namibia. If you allow me to quickly share my screen. Okay, just please confirm when you have seen my screen. So DBN is a wholly owned government entity, incorporated or established in 2004 by an act, the Development Bank of Namibia Act. Government of Namibia is currently the sole shareholder. We're reporting to Ministry of Finance. We support we support large enterprises and SMEs, pioneering new forms of lending. But I need to emphasize we only focus on financing in Namibia. So our restriction to date is only in Namibia. Our lending portfolio, as I mentioned, large enterprises and infrastructure, that is currently where we spend most of our activity and effort on. We try to align our focus with the NDP 5 plan, with a sectoral focus specifically around manufacturing, transport, logistics, tourism, hospitality, infrastructure, with that lending to address developmental needs. So really trying to package the projects to maximize development impact. We also, with our focus on SME lending, we also really aim to provide transformative lending to address persistent economic challenges that we are facing. So the typical lending products that we have available is project finance, infrastructure finance, property development finance, asset-backed finance, contract-based finance, performance guarantees, management buy-ins, buyouts, just to name a few, but just for the audience to get an appreciation of what DBN can support with. The typical terms that we provide assistance with. So first of all, to a point earlier raised, is we can only provide funding to a Namibian registered legal entity. However, that can be wholly foreign owned. It doesn't have to be necessarily Namibian owned. Our tenors typically are long-term, anything up to 15 years. We could stretch it to 20 years, typically for infrastructure, water-related infrastructure, etc. We can offer grace periods of up to 2 years. Our current single exposure sits at 350 million Namibian dollars, equates to today roughly 19 million US dollars. We prefer a gearing of around 70 to 30, but that really depends on your cash flow available for debt servicing. So anything around that we could negotiate. As I mentioned previously, we keenly support projects with a high developmental impact, and thus really want to promote and advance those type of projects with a high job creation potential, export earning potential, import substitution, etc. When the projects are beyond our scope, for example, we can also involve other DFIs, tapping into our network of DFIs or other commercial banks that we have good relationships with, just to optimize the funding package. So either to augment the financing requirements or to optimize the financing needs. So for example, providing long-term tenor type product versus a short-term transaction type facility. Now with that, we also have special type of funding, and I particularly want to just present something around our project preparation fund, something that I'm also managing. The project preparation, just for the broader audience, consists of all work necessary to ensure that the proposed project is well planned, structured, and packaged for successful financing and implementation, i.e. bankability. So project preparation really assists projects to achieve optimal structure and package that it can be banked, both equity and debt. So with that, DBN's PPF supports large-scale manufacturing infrastructure type projects. We provide funding to most third-party activities to prepare these projects, specifically around trying to finance the studies, the designs, preliminary designs, advisory service, etc. Everything that sort of feeds into feasibility, that feeds into risk or understanding the risk and mitigating the various risk elements. And the risk mitigation that we then focus on is sound structuring and packaging with understanding of the studies and work done. The funding that we avail, we aim to recover as the project is banked. And this is a fund that has been coming since 2014. We have had some success stories with it. So it is really a very valuable tool in our arsenal to assist projects, both wholly owned Namibian companies, but also companies that have some foreign ownership to assist them in Namibia to develop various projects. So I think with that, I wanted to move into showcasing some projects that we finance, just for the audience to get an understanding of what DBN has done, how we play, how we typically would approach these type of projects. So first up is our flagship type project. It was for our client, the National Energy Fund, on the National Fuel Storage Facility. It was for the upgrade of aging infrastructure. So we had an existing pipeline infrastructure and increase the fuel storage capacity. It was by way of the Minister of Mines and Energy tender for EPC to design and construct the jetty, pipeline and tank farm. The tender was eventually awarded to an international engineering firm, and with that in joint venture with local companies. So here I just wanted to highlight the fact that we did provide funding towards the project that was in most part foreign owned. The project was project financed through a ring fence of the dedicated fuel levy, and the total debt here is 4.2 billion. I need to emphasize this was an exceptional project. We did have a special permission to stretch our single obligo on this one. Furthermore, another client that we have provided support is Umburu Sun Energy. This was one of the first solar PV projects in Namibia, banked under the 25-year PPA from our national utility, and definitely one of the, call it the pioneering projects in Namibia for our solar PV. It is a majority foreign-owned SPV with some Namibian shareholding. It is project financed on the back of that PPA. Current total, or the total debt at that point, was 84 million. And since then, we have actually approved quite a few more solar parks and even one wind farm. And with the recent modified single buyer framework, essentially the wheeling arrangement, we are seeing a lot more projects coming to us to bank on PPA between private parties. Then moving on to tourism, this is a very nice project that I wanted to present. It's the Shipwreck Lodge. It's a 5+ star lodge in the remote skeleton coast of the national park. For those who don't know Namibia too well, it's a very desolate area. There's essentially no one. There's no person, hardly a road going there. So for your 5-star type clientele, this is really an amazing experience to have. It was a tender from the Ministry of Environment and Tourism with a concession and operations agreement to construct and operate this lodge for 25 years, involving the local community. The tender was eventually awarded to a Namibian-owned company, and we provided corporate finance for a total debt of 15 million. Moving over to a mining project, Western Mining Company, as Uaandja currently or has previously alluded to, mining is definitely an area that we also see quite a lot of activity in. This particular mine is a tin mining operation that was revived after decades of standstill. They actually took over an old mine that they revamped and they dusted off and started off again. The funding that we availed was towards basically the pilot phasing to ramp up and optimize the tin production and other minerals. This particular project is majority foreign owned with a small Namibian shareholding. And this is very much a non-recourse type project finance a deal that we provided 100 million towards, approved last year. Another manufacturing type project is the Orongo Cement. It was Namibia's first cement plant, establishing a new industry in Namibia and also securing local production. Here, the majority shareholder was Schwenk Cement, a German corporate, and DBN, together with the IDC and DBSA, we co-invested equity towards the project. And the current or the latest valuation for DBN's shares is around 240 million Namibian dollars. But I thought it's also interesting, for having seen that there is a bit of an interest in the agricultural side of things, just to provide some indication of our dealings in agro-processing side of things. So although agriculture is not excluded from our mandate, DBN definitely prefers to finance agro-processing and leave the primary agriculture side over to Agribank. Although we have an MOU that we can work together on both sides, it just optimizes our focal areas. Notable projects that I wanted to just quickly touch on. So we have we finance a food processing plant for 25 million, which aimed at a regional export, so exporting into Botswana, South Africa, etc. We also finance a charcoal processing plant for EU export, valued or at debt funded at 26 million. Currently, also this particular project is definitely quite a key project for the charcoal industry as a whole. We also financed a EU certified export abattoir with a feedlot for around 60 million Namibian dollars. And I have to specify that this particular abattoir is currently running over capacity. As I understand, they cannot keep up. But then, as I've mentioned previously, with our PPF support, we've also supported a poultry project that is currently in DBN's appraisal process for approval. And this particular project was valued around 450 million Namibian dollars. Another project that I didn't put on here, but I thought it was very important to also emphasize, is a biomass pelleting plant valued at around 450 million. That was would have been quite a significant project had DBN had the ability or the chance to provide funding to it. Unfortunately, the project, the promoters, they took the project off the table. But I think for the audience, just to also provide that indication, Namibia has a vast resource of biomass. We call it the invader bush, and this invader bush offers quite a unique opportunity as a renewable source, not only for energy, but also for materials. And that is definitely an industry that DBN would be very keen to support in. So with that, I realized that I haven't introduced myself. I do apologize. My name is Erik de Waal. I'm the Senior Manager Strategic Investments. I focus on structured finance. I focus on equity investments and on the PPF for the DBN. With that, I thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Erik. Thank you for all the information about Development Bank of Namibia. Thank you again. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to announce for Mrs. Fatma Zehra Sayar, the Director of International Loans and Relations at Türkiye-Bank, to deliver her presentations. Please, Madam.
Thank you, Evren Bey. I would like to start by thanking for this kind invitation that will give us an opportunity to tell you more about the activities of Türkiye-Bank. I would like to start by greeting the Ambassador Oruçkaptan, Ambassador Böhlke-Möller, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, and also for the valuable interventions made by the previous speakers. And I would also like to welcome all the participants that are here to listen to us. As Evren Bey introduced, my name is Zehra Sayar. I am in charge of international loans and relations, and have been with the bank for the past 30 years. The bank was established in 1987 after Turkey adopted an export-oriented growth strategy. It is a mission bank. What I mean by a mission bank is it has a specific mandate to support exports, have Turkish companies enter into new markets, or increase their market share where they are already present. So in every type of support Türkiye-Bank provides, there has to be an export element, export in sense of goods or services or together. We are wholly owned by Turkish Treasury, but we do report to the Ministry of Trade. So we have, in a sense, two bosses, one Treasury and Trade. We are unique in a sense that we provide both loans and insurance. So you can call us one-stop shop. In certain countries, you see there are two different ECAs, official export credit providers. In Turkey, there is only one. We do both. We are operating through 3 regional directors. We have nationwide branches. We have currently 23 branches and 11 liaison offices. We do not have any overseas offices, but of course, these are within the plans. If you look at the total support provided by Türkiye-Bank, we see that the last year, as of the end of 2022, the total support provided was approximately $46 billion. And the main product under this support was insurance amounting to approximately to 25 billion, and loans followed as 19 billion. This was significant in a sense that it was the first year that the insurance support surpassed the loans. If you look at the nature of the support, we have under the loans, we provide support to Turkish companies who are exporting. So the borrower of the loans are Turkish companies. These are mainly short-term and provided prior to the shipment. So if a Turkish company needs a support, a financing support at the pre-shipment phase in terms of working capital, or in needs an investment loan for the expansion of the current utilities, they can directly borrow from Türkiye Bank. So this is basically one form of support we provide. The other support is providing insurance. Türkiye Bank is also very active in short-term insurance. This is a very crucial product because it protects Turkish companies' receivables and protects them against commercial and political losses. Therefore, they, with the security that in case there's a non-payment, will be indemnified by Türkiye Bank, can very comfortably engage in an export activity. Another type of support that is very crucial in Africa for us has been the buyer's credit facility, which I will explain more. Of course, since we are talking about an African country in Namibia, it wouldn't be possible not to mention the Turkish government's African initiative, which was adopted in early 2000s, because this initiative increased the activity in terms of trade, investment, reciprocal trade and investments, as well as the contracting services. And this increased activity under the initiative, when combined with our eagerness of Turkish companies to engage more in activity, the support provided to Türkiye Bank became more critical. One of the tools Türkiye Bank has actively utilized in Africa, like I said, is the buyer's credit. This scheme is a direct lending facility, and it is extended mainly to sovereigns or to ministries or public institutions under sovereign guarantee. I should also mention that the support provided by Türkiye Bank is purely commercial. We do not extend concessional financing. Therefore, the government, when is applying, if there is a need for finance, applying for a loan, should be able to borrow on the terms we lend, and it should not have restrictions with its under the agreements with its international financial institutions such as World Bank or IMF. So they should be able to borrow. They should not have a limit on commercial borrowing. While providing this support, it is also important to mention that we follow the rules and regulations that Türkiye or our bank is a party to. If I were to summarize what these rules and regulations are, there are mainly three. One of the most important one is the OECD arrangement. We determine the terms and conditions of our loan in accordance with the provisions of this arrangement. For instance, when we are determining the interest rate or the premia or the repayment term or the grace period, the amount of the official support, we are obliged to follow these rules and regulations. We also follow the OECD's governance rules. For instance, when we extend a loan, we ensure that it is in line with the recommendations on sustainable lending, or the bribery, or its environmental and social impacts are assessed accordingly. We have country limits applicable. These limits tell us that the final exposure, the ceiling on exposure in a given country. Namibia is currently classified under category 6, which allows us to extend a $400 million. The ceiling is $400 million. This, of course, would only be possible if there is a transaction in Namibia involving both a Turkish company as a project exporter, and there has to be, of course, Turkish goods and services involved. The process starts by an application of a sovereign who is authorized to borrow on behalf of the Namibia state. This is one of the borrowers we can have. In a couple of minutes, I will explain the second type of borrower. And if I were to give more information on our activities in Africa, even though we do not have provided any official support to Namibia under buyer's credit, our activities, the first activity was in 2005. And the expansion phase, I can say, was between 2013 to 2018, where Türkiye-Bank provides support to various superstructure and infrastructure projects in Africa. It amounted to $1.5 billion. The current exposure is around 700 million. If we look at the nature of the projects, we see a wide variety of projects. We have construction of bridges, projects relating to access to clean water, transportation projects such as construction of railways that not only serves the country but also contributes to the regional connectivity. We have energy projects. We have construction of stadiums and business centers and etc. So the bank was very active in sub-Saharan Africa, and if we look at the total figure of 3.5, the amount of the support in Africa makes up around 40% of the total support provided to date since the inception. Of course, this expansion phase was possible because the current economic environment allowed us to do so. The interest rates were more favorable, and the governments were able to borrow. So this is an important parameter I should mention. What we have witnessed is once the Turkish companies entered into new markets with the support of Türkiye-Bank, where they see a relatively high risk, they increase their capability to undertake new projects, even without the support of Türkiye-Bank. So we see that that initial introduction was very beneficial and helped them undertake new projects. I should also mention that if there is a private sector transaction where the sovereign or sovereign guarantee would not be possible, we can also extend credit lines to financial institutions, mainly to banks. These would be targeting smaller scale transactions like capital goods exports. And there needs to be a thorough financial analysis of the bank. Currently, even though we do not have any credit line allocated to a bank in Namibia, we have a line allocated to one of the regional banks in Africa, mainly Afro-Exim. There are two other banks, Trade Development Bank of Africa and ECOWAS Bank, but of course Namibia is not a member of these banks. So this is an on-lending scheme. What I mean by an on-lending scheme is the bank where we allocated a credit line acts as the borrower and on-lends to a transaction in the borrower country in a member state. So this is also another option. I should finish by saying that we are also keen on establishing relations with prominent financial institutions in Africa by signing memorandum of understandings to cooperate on various fronts. To date, we have already signed an MOU with African Trade Insurance Corporation and also African Finance Corporation. My intervention is ending here, and if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to assist you in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Sayar, for sharing insight. For sure that if any question or any intervention requires, we'll definitely get in touch with you. Thank you again, Madam. Now, we are moving to the last session of our webinar, sectoral presentations. Allow me to invite Mr. Karim Guzalish. Karim Bey, he's the board chairman of Rich Diamond to give his presentation. Selim Bey, buyurun efendim.
Ben kusura bakmayın, Türkçe konuşacağım.
Tercüme var, hiç sorun değil.
Evet. Herkese iyi akşamlar diliyorum. Beni davet ettiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederim. Çok kaliteli, çok güzel insanlarla beraber ve iş potansiyeli görüyorum burada. Biz
a good business potential for the 4 generations we've been dealing with jewelry, and in my generation we focus on diamonds. We are on the top 3 Turkish companies. We are one of them, and as an investor I had established a factory of stone processing. I don't know if the translation is being done. Translation is being done simultaneously. So in the 90s,
bunu idame ettirebildim. Ondan sonra idame ettiremedim. Çünkü yan sanayi kurulmadığı zaman çok büyük zorluklar içinde kaldık ve idame ettiremedik. Bir de ithalat-ihracat rejimi de çok açık değildi. Çok destek olmadılar bize. Ondan dolayı kapattık. Benim bu toplantıya katılma isteğim şeyden dolayı kaynaklanıyor. Tabii Namibya'da hem maden, altın, gümüş ve de özellikle de elmas ham maddesi çıktığı için orada bir alternatif bulma imkanı sağlarsak, yani ticari olarak bir alışveriş yapma imkanımız olursa bunu değerlendirmek isterim. Herkes çok güzel insanlar, bir aradasınız. Eğer bu imkanı sağlarsanız, karşılıklı görüşürsek memnuniyetle Namibia ile beraber işbirliği yapmaya arzuluyum, istekliyim. Teşekkür ederim.
Çok teşekkürler Kerim Bey. Çok teşekkürler paylaştığınız bilgiler için. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Mr. Ferdinand Nangula, Director of Business Development into Harris Capital, for sharing his presentation. Please, sir. Can you hear me, please, sir? You are on mute. Can you please open? I think we have a little bit connection problem with him. Mr. Ferdinand? Okay, until he got connected, if any questions from our audience we can raise to our speakers. Ambassador, I think it is very satisfying. No questions coming. Okay.
Directors of ceremonies, apologies. I was trying to get hold of Mr. Ferdinand, and he will dial in the next 5 or so minutes. He was flying and he has landed where he was going.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, madam.
Apologies. Can the delegates and dignitaries hear me out? Hello?
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yes, madam.
Yes. I'll stand in for Mr. Ferdinand as they are still in the air. So if I may, maybe I can start the presentation.
Please, madam, if you can just introduce yourself and then you share.
Yes, I'll do that.
And if possibly, if you can open your webcam.
I'll do that as well.
Okay. You're very welcome, madam.
Yes, good afternoon, Your Excellency, fellow dignitaries, delegates, panelists, and invitees. My name is Grace Joseph. I am an investment associate at Erik Capital. As I mentioned, I will be standing in for Mr. Ferdinand. So basically, I would just like to introduce and give an overview of who we are as Erik Capital before I skim through the slides of the presentation. Just for confirmation, can the participants see my screen? Okay, so as I mentioned, my name is Grace Joseph. I'm an investment associate at Erik Capital. So Erik Capital is an unlisted investment manager investing in commercial viable infrastructure projects within the Namibian border, targeting sectors in energy, transport, logistics, ICT, water, sanitation, education, health, post-harvest agricultural investments, as well as municipal services. Erik was established in 2014. We are currently managing 2 funds just under assets under management of around about $50 million US, which translates to around about 900 million Namibian dollars. So both of these funds are fully invested. Under Fund 1, we are currently in the harvesting period, which translates to disinvestments from some of the investments we have done. With Fund 2, we closed the investment period last year. So we are in the process of deploying the funds under Fund 2. So the purpose of my presentation today is basically regarding our Fund 3, which is namely the African Energy Fund, with the focus mainly on renewable energy investments, which we are currently under the fundraising stage as we speak. As we know, currently Namibia, just maybe the presentation. So as I mentioned, we are currently under fundraising under the African Energy Fund, which basically will be our third fund with the focus just on renewable energy within the Southern Africa region. As we know, currently Namibia imports between 50 to 60% of electricity from the Southern African power pool, Zambia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, which constitutes as a risk for the country. Hence, our purpose for this fund is really to work together with the government, NAMPower, to consider this as an alternative solution to what we are about to face. Under the Harambed Prosperity Plan 2, Pillar 4, under the infrastructure development, one of the goals is for energy supply security, amounts which is to increase local generation capacity from 600 megawatts to approximately 900 megawatts by 2025, which is only scalable in investment opportunity in Namibia. So as we move along the presentation with regards to the African Energy Fund, we are targeting a 2 billion Namibian dollar fund, which translates to approximately 110 million USD. As I mentioned, we are currently under fundraising stage. We are looking at making our first close, which is half of the fund by next year, June 2024. We have an existing pipeline of approximately 3 billion Namibian dollars, of which some of those pipeline projects are, some of them are close to financial close, some are in the early stage development phase. So those are really the projects we are trying to target at. Some are already PPA agreements are signed with the necessary utilities, but bulk of the investments we are looking at is exporting into the Southern African power pool, of which we currently are a member of that as well. So as I mentioned, the Energy Fund basically is just to target energy projects within Namibia and the Southern African region, particular with the Southern African power pool member countries. As I mentioned, who we are is Erik. We are unlisted investment management fund with 2 funds under management currently, investing in various sectors. So with regards to our track record, why the energy focus? As I mentioned, we are managing 2 funds or under Fund 1. We have invested in 4 solar parks with 1 wind park. And as executives, we have invested as developers in one of our planned solar parks in the northern region of the country, of which we fit 5 megawatts solar or capacity into the national grid. So that was where we're coming from. We feel like we have a proven track record with regards to renewable energy as financiers plus as developers. And we see this as an opportunity. Basically, that's our presentation this afternoon. Sorry for the delay. So that's the conclusion. Maybe we can just share the presentation if we missed something that we didn't mention. And if there's any other interest, I'm happy to take questions. But we are happy to share the presentation. If there are any follow-on questions with regards to the particular pipeline projects that are mentioned in the presentation, we are willing to sign an NDA and we can share our data room with the rest of the participants and the delegates and the dignitaries on the panel. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam. Definitely, we will share this presentation with our participants from Turkey side, as well as with our members who are into the same sector with yours. Thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, as we come to the closing of our webinar, I would like to thank all our speakers. We have listened with great attention, and also we do appreciate all participants for joining us today. Please allow me to invite again Mr. Muhammed Yusuf Bedir, the chairperson of Türkiye-Namibia Business Council, for his closing remarks. Yes, Mr. Chair, please, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Evren, for your moderation as well. As a closing remarks, first of all, I would like to thank you to Her Excellency Çekerek Oruçkaptan, Ambassador of the Republic of Turkey to Namibia, and Her Excellency Sabine Böhlke-Möller, Ambassador, Deputy Executive Director and Head of Bilateral Cooperation Department in Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation of Republic of Namibia, and Ms. Nangula, Uaandja, CEO of NIPDB, and distinguished panelists and guests. I would like to thank you for your participation in this productive webinar. The inspiring speeches of honorable ambassadors, the rich presentations of Ms. Nangula, Uaandja, and our other panelists have been very useful and instructive for all of us. Her Excellency Çekerek Oruçkaptan stated that she received various questions from Turkish business people regarding investment opportunities in Namibia, and that she was doing the necessary work to answer them. In fact, this situation proves that the bilateral wish and intention to develop economic and commercial relations between Turkey and Namibia, which we also, as DEİK, identified. Her Excellency Sabine Böhlke-Möller presented a summary of our mutual warm relation and talked about the joint projects that have been implemented in a short time since the establishment of our bilateral diplomatic relations. We will continue to contribute to the process with the respective of business diplomacy for the development of these projects and growth of Turkey-Namibia trade volume. In this respect, I wish that our delegation visit, which we plan to realize in the near future, will be beneficial, and I express that we are extremely motivated to visit Namibia. At the same time, I would like to remind you that we are expecting valuable Namibian participants to the 4th Turkey-Africa Business and Economic Forum, which will take place in October in Istanbul. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Katılımınız için çok teşekkürler.
Biz teşekkür ederiz davetiniz için, sağ olun.
Teşekkürler efendim.
Çok teşekkürler.
Thank you.